students right here in North Texas, they've been on edge. There was a rash of hoax threats that we've reported about for you across our area recently, and just last week, police arrested 4 minors in Louisville. And as we get to your Eye on Health tonight, that's where we start. We're talking about our kids, we're talking about stress, and there are so many life events that can lead to this, that can cause that stress. And tonight we are joined by 2 very talented and educated women, 2 child life specialists from Baylor Scott White. We've got Taylor Grace Freiberg and Tessa Whitten. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having us.
So my first question is for Tessa. I want to ask about the signs, because it doesn't necessarily have to be a parent. It could be someone just older in that person's life. It could be a caregiver. It could be a grandparent. It could be another student. What are the signs that we're looking for when we talk about children being in distress or showing signs of stress?
Mm-hmm. Something that can be unexpected about children is they will often show us how they're feeling instead of telling us how they're feeling. So when we're talking with families that are going through very stressful situations, we're telling them 3 main things to look out for. The first thing is a change in eating. So your child might all of a sudden become super picky when they normally haven't been. Or your child might eat a lot more or a little less than they typically do. The second thing is we see changes in sleeping. We see children maybe waking up in the middle of the night with nightmares, or maybe they want to sleep in your bed when they typically wouldn't, or even sleep on the floor next to your bed, just seeking that comfort. And then the last thing is we often see children experience some hard times in school. So they might lose focus when they typically might not, or they might just feel really anxious while they're at school, or their grades might fluctuate pretty rapidly. Those are all pretty expected behaviors that they show when they're stressed. And what's most important to know is these behaviors typically resolve in a few months, and they're just kind of a sign that can show us, okay, my kid's feeling a little bit something deeper than what they're telling me.
Okay, so not a doom. Nothing to be doom and gloom. Yeah, it can get to that point. Is there something that parents or older folks around kids might miss when we're talking about stress? Is there something that we might not be looking for that we should be?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. This is actually really common in oldest daughters.
Hi.
Me too. I'm an oldest daughter as well.
The parentified daughter. Read it if you don't know. Okay.
But oftentimes, children will sometimes appear to be okay. They don't have any of those changes. They're not saying they're struggling, but inside they might have so much anxiety and so much big feelings. And so it's just important to keep a close eye on your child and just mainly be a safe person that they know they can come to, whether they will or not, especially those teenagers out there. But being a safe person that they can consistently go to.
My mom would say that, you can tell me anything, good or bad, right? This is a safe place. Taylor Grace, I want to ask you, and you touched on this, Tessa. Sometimes we feel and don't know how to say, right? We don't have the language. What is it that kids might be able to do to express their stress if they don't have the words?
Sure. That's a great question too, because kids aren't always at the developmental stage where they can match the word to the feeling that they're feeling. Other things that we can teach our kids to do are those really healthy coping techniques like deep breathing. I mean, we can teach our kids that as young as toddlers, right? Get out the bubbles and start blowing bubbles. And our teenagers, teach them box breathing techniques, or we have so many apps available that literally coach us through breathing. So why not put those on our kids' phones? And also it's really important that we talk about these things. We model our own feelings for our kids. That way they get the green light to say, okay, mom's feeling like this or dad's feeling like this, and maybe it's okay that I share this too, even if there's not necessarily a solution to that problem.
I was going to say something that I think a lot of people can identify with is a lot of things that we carry into our adult selves started when we were our child selves, right? So even as a parent, you may not know the language or the right model or technique to show your child. Is there something that you would say to a parent or a caregiver that could help model that better stress management for our kids?
Yeah, oftentimes I think parents feel like I have to stuff my emotions down and keep it behind closed doors. My kids can't see it, but it's actually the opposite. So children learn through our behavior, and they're observing us, and they're learning how to react to the world through us. Not to put too much pressure on parents or anything, but they are. And so it's okay to say, hey, I have a big meeting tomorrow. I'm really nervous. And normalizing that feeling and then saying, but I'm going to prepare. I'm going to take some deep breaths before the meeting starts, and I know I can do it. That's just a very simple way to show your child, I have feelings too. I experience negative emotions, and I can cope with them too, and then that gives them the permission to do the same thing.
That relatability, right? Okay, so when do we call you all? When do we know that as a family we might need a little bit of professional help? How do we signal that?
So when it's time to seek professional help, that's when we're starting to see what we call red flag behaviors. So red flag behaviors are anything that make your parent gut go, hold on, like that's out of character for my child, or that feels really just not right to me. So we always tell parents, like, follow your gut because you know your child the best. And if something is screaming at you that, hey, this is risky or this is not feeling like my kid, we would encourage you to seek licensed professional counseling or therapy for those behaviors, because they're a higher level of support and they can find the why behind what those behaviors are stemming from. And that's ultimately what we want for our kids, right? Is to find coping strategies and just even some replacement behaviors for some of those more risky, not so great ones.
I'm not a parent yet, but I would assume that when parents see their child in distress or out of character behavior, their first notion is to panic or to get angry. This is not how I raised you. This is not, what I'm used to. So that's really good information for folks who might not know where to start. I told you they were smart and fabulous. Thank you, Taylor, Grace, and Tessa, so much for being with us.